Case for interwebkaiju here. There's a giant cat playing with a car. And this is called Skull Island.
I really like the cinematography. There's cool angles, some that I haven't seen in a long time, like the old western standoff one. There's wide shots, which I'm a big fan of. Even the human fight in the beginning is good, using a steady camera. There are still some bobbing cameras, but they're not too bad, and instead usually keep the character in the center of the frame instead of just moving without reason. I don't mind not seeing the monsters much, but what does bother me is if a movie keeps them shrouded in conditions so you can't even appreciate their designs and movements. In this movie, almost all the monster scenes are shown in great lighting, and I really appreciate that. Along with the clear sun lighting, there's a scene in a bar where the characters are glowing in red and pink lights with a contrasting vivid yellow light in the background behind them. And I really like the way it all looks. And even after that, the colors in the film, not just the lighting, are nice, vibrant, and aesthetically pleasing without seeming unnatural or oversaturated. My favorite thing about this movie is that it's not just the same story. Sure, the original invented and pushed many effect methods, the 70s reboot had a hell of a finale, and I really liked the train scene, and the 2005 version had some of the best CG of its time. But all of them are overly long, and I was never really interested in the story, though this is probably due to having seen the plot lampooned and referenced 100 times even before seeing any of them. I love the music. This goes for the original and the licensed tracks. I really love the scene with the helicopters playing Paranoid, especially because they are playing the music themselves, not just in a scene where the movie plays the song in the background. This allows the track to skip when the record is shook and slowed down when the scene is slowed down. And luckily, this film doesn't overuse slow motion like most of the high-budget blockbusters nowadays. The CG is good. I'm sure some of the scenes were entirely CG, but usually it didn't stray too close to the line into feeling like an animated film or a video game cinematic, except for a few of the nighttime scenes. The water effects are extremely impressive with mist and the splashes in the fight scenes. I like the design of Kong, straying away from the silverback design of the 2005 film, which I think made him look a bit too familiar and less wondrous. The other creatures on the island are original and are alright. The spider was pretty cool. I like how it was given powers instead of just being a giant spider. There are actually a lot of monsters. Well, some are just giant versions of animals we already know, but I was thinking it was just going to be Kong and the skull crawlers, so that was a pleasant surprise. The skull crawlers have a cool design, even if they are a bit simplistic without any real personality or abilities. I've always been more of a fan of practical effects, but I don't think the skull crawlers with their two front leg lead slither motion would look nearly as good if done without CG. The end fight is good. It's choreographed and incorporates the human characters as well as objects in the environment, and that kill scene is epic. None of the characters are particularly deep, dynamic, or round, but they do all have their own personalities and mannerisms. Though Samuel L. Jackson's character does seem to talk and act a lot like his Nick Fury character in the Marvel movies, albeit more selfish, arrogant, and a bit psychotic to fit his little subplot. I like the natives of the island. It's a lot better than the normal, undeveloped natives in kaiju movies, normally shown as ignorant and often dressed with blackface. Instead, these natives are painted with interesting designs and are described in a positive light, being past personal property and crime. Also, Gon is a sacrifice the other iterations of Kong had. Instead, he just does his own thing, even said to protect the villagers. The village still has the wall, but it is clarified that the wall isn't because of Kong. The sound effects are mostly good, especially when it comes to the skull crawlers. Their tongues sound disturbingly accurate to what I imagine they would sound like in real life. and the bone crunching of when they eat people tread on the same territory. There are a few clips where the dialogue is clearly dubbed over afterwards, so it doesn't fit the scene well. Most of the attempts at humor fall flat other than from John C. Reilly, but they're always brief, so it's not really a distraction or a disturbance. There's no real main protagonist. Sure, tons of movies have a group of people as the main characters, but here, the candidates for that role don't really interact with each other, but rather are just traveling near each other, and for a little bit on other sides of the island. The Dear Billy shtick done throughout the film is pretty annoying. A good part of the movie is just characters walking around. This isn't a problem in the first viewing, but afterwards it really slows down the film.
Yes, highly recommend this movie. If you would like me to review another movie, maybe one of these King Kong movies, or one of the King Kong ripoff movies, or you could always do the Cloverfield movies if you want to see John Goodman shaking his butt, or any other monster movie. Just leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.
Hey, Billy. Sometimes life just punch you in the balls.
What the hell, man?